Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker, and this week I will only be doing one Wargame match. I've had a very bad flu, and the culmination of this is that I've had a sore throat the entire time, and speaking becomes very painful over long periods of time. So I can only do one real match this week. There's tons of great matches. I'll be covering a lot of them over the next few weeks, and yeah. If you don't want my other channel content and you only want the Wargame content, go into the playlists and subscribe to the playlist Wargame multiplayer matches or something like that. And that way you'll only get the Wargame matches and that'll be on your feed. Definitely suggest it, definitely recommend it. Specifically if you're only interested in Wargame European Escalation, which a lot of you are. So this is a match challenge set it by Dirty D, and it features a lot of players that are really high rated and very good. Dirty D is captain of the WTF clan, and he's also a marshal. He's also a top 66 from the Wargame Cup. He's very good. Then there's Enohka, who's a 2K ELO rated player, has enohka TV, does analysis, training partner of Fee55, the grand champion. Another all-around great player. General Binks is top 5, top 6 players in the world. Has been for quite some time. And there's this guy Darricks. Darricks has been a consistently great player in the game. He could also easily be said to be top 5, and that would not be controversial at all. And his opponent will be an unknown player named DemolitionMech, who is completely unknown. I'm not even sure he's in the Wargame Cup. So throughout the next few weeks, I'll be doing a lot of matches from this particular challenge, just because it's really great matches, a lot of great content. I've seen a lot of great matches, a lot of great players getting knocked out. And yeah, it's also relevant content because this is within the patch date, meaning that players are trying new tactics. And a lot of people are complaining about the new metagame, like, this new metagame sucks, I hate the new metagame. And the truth is that the reason why people hate this metagame is because the new metagame is actually developed. People are just trying to do cheap stuff, and usually cheap stuff wins for a while. And this is the truth of like every RTS game. Like the StarCraft 2 last week had MLG, and everyone was complaining about how OP Terran was, and then a Zerg won it named Life, and he did it by kind of like creating a new metagame. So Darricks has a lot of gazelles here, gazelle cannons. He doesn't have any rockets on these, but this would be a great showing of how nice little anti-air can do. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Mechs has much for anti-air, and so these gazelles should be able to do significant amounts of damage. These infantry vehicles, of course, now only have the 0/0/0 armor and will not be as effective with dealing with helicopters as they once were. They used to be a pretty good all-around vehicle, and now they're just things that carry infantry with guns on them. And as you can see here, Darricks is going to peel across the map. He might be trying to go for this 3-point hotel base to go in for a nice pincering attack, all while DemolitionMech appears to be going for some sort of no wait, that's Darricks I'm looking at. DemolitionMech, he's hiding his command armor, maybe trying to trick his opponent into thinking it's an all-in. I'm not sure. He might also want to move it up to this Foxtrot location for the very high point total, and there is a slight advantage in moving up your commands later because your opponents who have high amounts of helicopters will not be trying to snipe it. So we do see there's some BMP, was that 2s? No, BMP 1, SP2, and these are units you'd never see pre-patch. Yes, the patch did change a lot of things. Anti-tank weaponry has become very potent and very good, specifically these infantry types. And note that there's only 5 infantry per Dragon squad, so they're much easier to kill than they were before, but they're still very potent against armor. And looks like these dragons have in fact been largely wasted, not having too many successful hits. And DemolitionMech is currently in the lead at 90 points. It's only a small lead, of course. There are some Lod Red Eyes here. They're not going to be able to deal with these shallows very effectively, of course. And they'll just be free pickings for the shallows as well. So 110 points for DemolitionMech, doing very well against Darricks. But here comes the helicopter flank with the Eric Sagne recon unit. Chasseurs FAMAS chewing through these Motostrelkis like it's nobody's business. Of course, Chasseurs FAMAS were the most common infantry in the old metagame, and they've basically vanished off the face of the earth now. They're very much replaced entirely by Fusiliers. Some people are using riflemen, but mostly Fusilier squads are very much dominating infantry. Chasseurs FAMAS and Chasseurs have basically vanished, disappeared, no longer all that relevant in the game. It's even kind of interesting because all the marshals would have had a lot of experience using these patches, and for Darricks to come out with Chasseurs Famas is very, very ballsy, considering things, and using these VABs, which of course now have these 0 armor on them. So very, very ballsy by Darricks, who of course would have been in the tests for all these units. And really, a big part of this challenge is also showing the variation you can use with units. It becomes very important for these marshals, who of course designed this patch. They're volunteers, they did their own time, and they have to be able to show that, yeah, you can use a lot of silly units and they will work. And it also means you have to be able to use all the old units, and they should work as well. And so it's one of those mixed political things that just filters into the game as well, that you wouldn't even really consider as a fact, and that could end up being a little bit of a handicap here for Darricks, who's been taking a beating. Luckily, these Chasseurs Famas are paying off quite a bit, getting nice amount of hits. These AML 90 links is still a nice bang for your buck unit. Note there's no March or VTSI out here for Darricks. That used to be the bread and butter tank destroyer. It's also kind of fallen off the face of the earth. The Lynx is kind of your prime de la prime guy right now. And of course, a very good play with DemolitionMech. Pulling out the TO-55, he needs to, of course, move it in to destroy these Chasseurs. He does have vision, so he does know it's there. And I think he's just using the fire position command on where they were. It causes a lot of morale damage. It causes a lot of people damage. And as these infantry get completely clobber knocked, this is going to give DemolitionMech, once again, a pretty sizable lead. And so now we're seeing DemolitionMech has, in fact, moved his commander back to Gulf. And he's going to secure the Gulf location, or is he going to move it up to Foxtrot? So the funny thing about this is that the Alpha base should actually go to Foxtrot. The Gulf base should stay the Gulf base. Of course, he does have the FOB here. It's very important to defend your FOBs. If you lose an FOB, that's a waste of 100 points, unfortunately. So we have Chasseurs Famas here still doing excessively high amounts of damage, really just laying into these BTR-60 pies, which are forced to retreat. And of course, these BTR-60 pies, ooh, they got no armors anymore, so they're not going to be that great with really dealing with infantry, except for in these close, these long-range, outranging scenarios. That's one thing I did like with the balance, is how our anti-infantry vehicles are anti-infantry vehicles now. The Lynx is getting pulled up to try and deal with these anti-infantry vehicles. All the while, the TO-55 on the fire position command trying to knock out these Chasseurs in the woods. And DemolitionMech is already looking very, very, very impressive. He might be the first person to knock out one of these champions and grab himself a beta key. I don't know how many beta keys Dirty D has left. I don't know if he'll have any by the time this video goes up. But I'll have the thread in the description. You can definitely check it out and see if you can get a shot at a beta key. They've been playing a lot of matches, and a lot of good matches, a lot of close matches. And it's actually almost embarrassing for Darricks to be doing this bad to someone who's just basically very unknown. Darricks is normally a much, much better player than this. I have been following this guy for roughly a year now, and he's done very, very well at almost everything he did previous to this. And looking at Darricks, you can see a very good strategy for him. He's grabbed this hotel location so that he can pound on this Gulf location. By denying this reinforcement point, he's able to nullify this Foxtrot base and move up positions over here. That's all his tactics. However, as a counter tactic to this, DemolitionMech, instead of going for this Foxtrot base, has decided to keep his Gulf base and try and defend it from all these attacks. And he's been doing very, very well. Weaker players do not do this well. He's been using a lot of infantry in these woods, a very good, strong purpose for the infantry, and he's been using these TO-55s, just evaporate them. Now, we do have a new unit out for Darricks, these Rifle Squad Legions, the old French Foreign Legion, and they do have their frag grenades, so they will be able to trade fairly nice with these Motor Strelkis, which have their RGOs. Ooh, all the while up top here, seeing a small skirmish between vehicles, nothing big happening up there, just vehicles. Vehicles used to be really good, but they're not really that great anymore. I have been playing quite a bit. Luckily, my style didn't get nerfed, it got buffed, so I'm doing better than ever. I don't think I'll be able to beat Darricks still, but still, one Modal Strelki pushes off all the Legion, and it looks like DemolitionMech will hold on to that small little neck of woods. Oh, while more of these OT Scots full of Moto Strelki are going to get dropped on. Note, these are not the Scott 2s, these are Scott 1s. These are unmanned, or ungunned. And oh, he's actually got the Visadkaris in there. Visadkaris were the most powerful anti-infantry unit in the game for the longest time, and they just kind of vanished. And so a lot of special attention went into this infantry unit just to make sure it was usable again. And it looks like it is in fact. And here's a BTR-60 Pi loaded and now doomed. Modus Jockey out in the open. Might be a little bit of opportunity for this Modus Jockey to do some damage if it's able to grab this M113 vehicle, but nope, a Flak Panzer. And look at the size of that range on the Flak Panzer, able to deal insanely high range attacks now, making them one of the most potent anti-infantry vehicles in the game, and definitely one that you should probably add into your deck. Any of these anti-infantry, well, not anti-infantry, anti-aircraft vehicles are going to do very, very well as a nice multifunctional unit. They still die the rockets, but whatever. All the while, here comes an M113 rush from Darricks, running out of fuel, running out of fumes, has him parked on the outside, just peeling on this BTR-60 Pi, which, ooh, just narrowly escapes with 2 hit points. It's got an anti-infantry in there, and he doesn't want to lose that. Specifically because Darricks has already shown his gazelles. He's already shown that. It's already out there. He has a bunch of gazelles. He's always going to need to have some anti-aircraft in any position he wants to secure. And here comes a BTR-60 Pi rushing into the woods, wanting to try and wipe out some of this stuff. Getting the Lynxes is awesome. Getting these weakened these Legions is also good. And ooh, he's forced to pull back, and this could be the wrong choice as he might lose them both. No, he's actually going to reposition out of the range of the AML Lynx. And yes, he does back drop into this small little crevice, and he's going to start unloading on these M113s from the distance, of course, with the BTR-60 Pi. At the same time, he's positioned to not get hit by the tank destroyer. So very, very good position by DemolitionMech. He's definitely earning his high point score right now. Very good tactics for a guy we've never heard of. Never seen a match from. Never been aired on this channel, and I've aired over 300 matches in a year. I have no life. And here comes another little flank here by DemolitionMech. BMP SP1 T-55s and Strop 2. T-55s, of course, got the biggest of the nerf bats. They were very overpowered for the 15 points that they cost, and they're not nearly as good. These BMP SP2s, however, will make the difference. They have very, very powerful rockets and some nice Grom tank destroyer cannon. The Stroop is going to move in the back, trying to create a support position. All the while, these units are moving a little bit too close to Legion. If they can snipe off all these units, they might be able to pay themselves off. Keep in mind that the T-55s don't cost much. They are a cheap, cheap vehicle, and they trade very cost-effectively with most things. Even after the nerf bat, they still... And T-80, ooh, that is such great positioning here by DemolitionMech, able to hit from multiple angles and get rid of all these Legions. All the while in the wood tier, a Praga going to come into the fold, an anti-aircraft vehicle. Once again, this is one of these units that definitely got buffed quite a bit. Insanely high range increases, which is going to make it very useful in pushes and in defenses, meaning that rushes are not dead. All the while an AMX AUF-1, also known as the OFI, out by Darricks, and he's just going to start pummeling random locations. Once you get to this point in the match, having artillery becomes essential because everything's going to be so clumped up. There's going to be a lot of static defenses that you have to smash out. And whoa, here we go. A Moto Strelky running into a Zippo. If he can get to good range, he can wipe it out, and he does. Still a 50-point lead by DemolitionMech. He has fallen behind a little bit, but he has regained most of this wooded location. It's only a little bit left. The AML-90 Lynx is trying to run away. This Moto Strelky squad is actually very dangerous. The Lynx would just die in a second. It only has the heat rounds, which are good against tanks, but when dealing with these infantries, they don't do so hot. The Legions looks like they will dominate the Moto Strelkies completely, and basically that's that. A TO-55 moving up, and here's one of these big historical battles. It's a Zippo versus a TO-55. The American Zippos versus the Russian TO-55 flamethrower tanks. I guess it's not going to happen though. There are some Visadkari slowly moving up, and he's going to want to lead in with the Visadkari and then support with the TO-55. The TO-55 will kill everything that it targets. It does an insanely high amount of damage. It also has some main cannon on it, which a lot of people forget. It's actually a tank. And right now, the game is looking very strong for Darricks. So with artillery out and his opponent not having artillery out, he's going to be in a position to do a lot of damage. every single attack that DemolitionMech does right now has to be very cost effective, because Darricks strategically pointed out to play this wooded location, to put all his forces here. This forces his opponent back here. Now, with everything being centralized in this wooded location, that means this artillery unit is going to have a very predictable area to hit. That's a lot of strength and strategic play. I know a lot of people who play multiplayer, just pubbing, they'll run into a guy who has like 40 artillery and he'll just randomly fire and kill like 1,000 units worth of stuff, and that's very, very different from what Darricks is doing. Darricks is very well aware of where stuff is. Nothing's random with him. And whoa, we might lose a Gazelle here. Gazelle is not the most expensive helicopters, but it's still a very important victory. 1 point left on it as it survives. The Weizsäcker continues moving forward. The TO-55 not really moving up to a support position, however. And this might be a crossover point. It can go either way still. A 60-point lead for DemolitionMech, and either player still has a great chance of winning. Ooh, Tunguska gets a big shot off and kills off that one loose helicopter. Now an 80-point lead. T-55 moving away. There's a Stroop 2 getting pummeled by the Ophi. Look how he just knows. He just knows it's there. Absolutely knows it's there. He's pummeling with an artillery unit, and he's forced it to run away. All the while, there's a Flak Panzer here. The infantry desperately want to get into range of this. If they get into range of this, they can kill this. Otherwise, he's just going to lose a lot of these BTR-65s. In the woods here, the T-55 still maintaining position here. Desperately what he needs to do, of course, is to push through this wooded location here, into the reinforcement line. And that'll cause a lot of problems for Darricks. At the current position, Darricks is still in the game. DemolitionMech is taking sneakingly high leads over time. But Darricks is still most definitely in this. He just needs to get a big win. Here comes the Dana artillery unit out for DemolitionMech. He's going to do some counter artillery. Probably going to hit this wooded location right in front of him. He knows there's some units in there. BTR-60 against, anti-tank gun Reagan. Doesn't even fire. So the Weizsäcker is slowly moving up into this vulnerable location. A very vulnerable location for Darricks. He doesn't really have anything covering this ground. There's no command there, thankfully, so he's not in trouble there. But there are reinforcement routes there. T-80s just completely destroyed these infantry vehicles. A lot of complaints with a very NATO favorite game, specifically because of the VAB or armored personnel carrier. It was just probably too good for its money. A lot of people are doing the 4 and 5 veterancy trick, where you have these invincible VABs that just seem to never die. All the while, we see some Jala moving here from DemolitionMech, as he's going to push through the middle and just try and pick off anything he can. If he can create a clear path to Bravo, he can actually just win the game outright. All the while, Weizsäcker in the woods, picks off a lot of red-eye. There's not much left on them. The artillery have been shelling them out pretty good, and that little group of Weizsäcker is down. The BTR-65 should probably finally go down. Only 2 hit points left. Look how the high veterancy, all 3 vetted, and the Weizsäcker no vetted. Okay, so now the Weizsäcker are sneakily moving around. As you can see, Darricks has no idea this is happening, whereas DemolitionMech is basically guessing as well just how to get to the back here, and he wants to get basically right here. That's his money spot. So if he can get right there, he can, every single unit comes out like this. Chieftain MK5. Dear God, is that still expensive? Nope. It's not expensive. I remember it being a little more expensive than that. It didn't perform well. I think that was like one of the big buffs to it, was they repriced it. Well, that's weird. It's a expensive gunship helicopter. What do you plan to do with that mech? Oh man, these shallows are going to pick off some really nice targets. Now, if we sell MK20, we sales became pretty well the most popular unit in the game for the entire tournament. And I'm guessing Darricks didn't get a lot of practice and is using this older style and potentially getting punished for it. We'll have to see how he's able to do. The Tunguska kill for the artillery would be huge, but no, he's going to pull it back wisely away from artillery barrage. And all the while, these Jalos looks like they're just going to completely pass this Weasel MK20, an easy target. But there are some AMX 30Bs here, which are about 50 points each, not a bad snag, and they do die relatively quickly. They don't have. I think they have like 4 armor, something like that. They're not the most armor units. After 2 hits, he's down to 50% health, and there's still other Jalos moving in. Here comes a Weasel as well. Darricks probably does not want to engage this, and here he goes. He's moving into the woods, actually able to knock out 1 Jalo, and there we go. Ooh, this is getting scary for Darricks. He's now 100 points behind. He's losing a lot of these really expensive tanks to some anti-tank, or tank destroyers, I should say. And here's a VAB group. This is the kind of units he wants to use against these tank destroyers. And now you can see a nice micro back here by the DemolitionMech. Doesn't want to lose these to these Chasseurs FAMAS. He's also using the VAB not to destroy it, but using it as a soaker for his AMX-30B to get some free shots. And a lot of those Jalos go down. Very, very limited stock on that particular tank destroyer. All the while, we see a UAZ 469. That's a different recon. Does someone have super? That's very good. Okay, that's not a big change. I know helicopter recon just got a ridiculous buff. They basically see everything now, and they're well worth their cost. Before they were basically like just worth their cost. Now they're really like you have to get one. They're so good. T-55. Look at the range on these rockets from these Chasseurs FAMAS. Still able to hit the T-55. The T-55. I spoke too soon. 1 hit point left on the Chasseurs FAMAS squad, and the T-55 does go down. The Jalos are basically all been cleaned up. Very smart play with the Chasseurs FAMAS and the VABs. Able to use this 1 weakened AMX-30B to wipe them out. And Darricks is going to want to resupply it very quickly to regain those health points. All the while, very good positioning on a lot of these TO-55s being used as kind of like crowd control. Would, just a small unit there so that any kind of units that come through will get stunned. It's not a bad tactic. And Sakari finally in great position here and doing insanely high amounts of damage, actually running out of ammunition. There are tank destroyers here. Great targets for Sakari. And the Sakari are going to start unloading on them. These, of course, are not the units that Darricks wants to lose. These are heavily limited stock. Very situational units. And if he loses those, the situation is over. It's a 60-point lead currently for DemolitionMech. The Sakari squad should go down here to the 10 Chasseurs FAMAS very easily, just because he's running out of ammunition and life and units. And a little glitch there, he jumped away. It looks like he's going to try to escape, keep it alive as much as possible. Keep Darricks occupied, basically. A lot of times in a lot of games like this, if you micro really hard, you can beat your opponent who will just expect this Sakari to be gone. That happens more often than you might think. I don't really know what's happening right now. It's a 10-point difference. We're down to about 18 minutes. And note, with this new metagame, we're not really hitting a mid-game point. That has not happened. That may not happen. In the old mid-game happened, you'd get 1,500 points worth of units. You'd both rush, you'd both clash, damage would get done, each player would lose half or more of their units, and then you'd settle bases that you are able to secure, you macro out more units, which is a mid-game, and then you move on. That really hasn't happened here. And it may not be, the part of this patch might be that there will be no more mid-game. There might not be any slowdown point with small moves. There might not be any big pushes anymore. This, in the background here, the T-80 and the BMP-3, that could be the future of big pushes. 2 units. Keep in mind, they're very expensive units. They're not cheap units by any means. We have 30 Moto Strelkies trying to wipe out 2 Legion squads. 2 TO-55s moving into the right side here to support the flank. And I believe this would be called the eastern from this angle, and the right from this angle. Moto Strelky can completely dominate these Legion. 1 is forced to root. TO-55s are going to continue moving through though, and actually pulling a huge shift here, going after the Emil Lynx instead. Emil Lynx, of course, should be able to dominate this, but with the stuns, he could be in trouble. He's actually targeting the Legion. Didn't even see the Emil Lynx. And the Emil Lynx is actually going to start unloading on the TO-55. 1 TO-55 is down. It's low on hit points, and he could lose both. AMX-30B also moving through the woods. This is a risky move here from Darricks. You usually do not put your tanks in the woods. That's generally a bad plan, but it's kind of paid off. Push away the TO-55. The Moto Stroke here continuing to push up on the Legion, moving the Legion back. And this could be a Darricks victory right here. He is 80 points ahead. He has not seen this kind of lead so far. Those TO-55s were very costly. The artillery fire has been very good from Darricks, hitting every single point. Here comes the helicopter, and look at the optics on this bad boy. Ooh, those are good optics. He sees everything with an 85-point optics. Moto Strelke and TO-55 are going to try and eliminate some of these legions, try to regain some of these leads. All while artillery pounding on these AMX-30Bs, which are forced to pull back, dodging the artillery, and now the Danas are basically hitting nothing. TO-55 does wind up, though. Will be hitting the AMX-10P or the Legion? That's the question. Moto Strelke also a little bit out of position to support this TO-55. The biggest problem with the TO-55 is its lack of armor. It's pretty much just an armored carrier with a flamethrower on it. And Darricks has now secured his location. He's now got a 100-point lead, and there's basically 16 minutes still left in the game. So it can basically still go anywhere. But we're going to fast forward this just a little bit. And it looks like Darricks is planning some kind of push, and has been for a while. He's got a lot of these tank destroyers out. He's got a lot of these chieftain MKs. And MK, of course, short for Mark, to indicate the number Mark 5. And DemolitionMech is actually going to run past his force, play for the open field, and try and pick off some tanks. He does need to get his recon helicopter up here pronto to spot. And he also has some Jalos in the middle here, which he could also pull to support. There's, of course, no reason to have this location anymore. There's no strategic value there. All the while, lots of forces coming for Darricks. And there's a sneaky Chasseurs from us. This is why you need the optics. Clear out these infantry. With the superior optics, these tank rushes should be crazy good. But without them, they just fall apart. And Chasseurs Hamas, ooh, he just realizes just in time. He's pulling back. And it might be too late. He's lost one T-62. The T-80 is in trouble. It's got 3 hit points down. 4 Chasseurs Hamas come down. He's got to micro these properly just to be able to knock out these VABs. If he can destroy the VABs from a side shot, actually, I guess that's from any shot now that I think about it, he can get insta-kills. And whoa, big split here by Darricks, splitting all 4 at once. Going after this UAZ 469 recon? I don't think he can see that. That can't be the target. BMP goes down. Ooh, that was a big loss. And now it's falling apart for DemolitionMech. He was doing so well against this highly veteran player, and now he's sort of falling apart. The commander is moving a little bit as this Chasseurs Hamas is relocating to this wooded location. And artillery just seems to know where it is. The AMX-30B also creeping up. Looks like they cleared all the T-64 tanks. The Shallows are coming to support. This is something they should have been doing much, much earlier. They needed that recon site desperately to clear the Chasseurs Hamas, the T-80s, and so much trouble. 4 hit points left, trying to wipe out some of these AMX-30Bs, trying to trade cost, but it's just not working. There's no veterancy on this tank, this T-80. So that means that it will be doing a lot of missing, something that you do not want the T-80 doing. T-80 trades, gets 1 AMX-30B, and he's get 2 more of those to make cost, though. Chieftains all the while moving up, moving in to support the AMX-30B as the trap has been deployed by Darricks. All the while, he's in very good positioning actually for DemolitionMech, going to these wooded locations, and note how if these chieftains get hit, they're getting hit from behind. This is called the soft spot in the game. Soft spots are your crit locations, and if you can hit a soft spot, you can almost instantly kill the vehicle most of the time. Commander has been safely relocated to an odd location. And generally when you're playing against a good player, you don't want to have your command vehicle in the woods. You want to have it completely in the open, because that's the least they'd suspect. They'd always suspect that you would have it in a wooded location. So we have Kolos here feeding resources to Baitskari and Moto Strelke as they're attacking the Chasseurs Hamas. Note the Chasseurs Hamas have run out of ammunition well before these units, and on top of that, looks like they're going to fall apart right here. This is a fairly sizable advantage having a supply truck within range of a battle, because it just means that you're going to win the battle. And if they don't have a supply truck, it's almost a guaranteed win. And the Kolos is not too bad because it's mounted with a gun, which means that it can fire on the enemy as well, joining in the attack. And a little bit of sneakiness here by DemolitionMech. Does Darricks know about this? The answer is no, he does not. And he's going to try and sneak around the back and then hit a nice side shot on something. Now, what he can hit is kind of questionable because there's not really a lot for him to hit here. As well, I mean, I think Darricks is winning a lot because of this AUF-1. He's doing really well because he's getting, not lucky, but he's been targeting much, much better. Whereas, when you look at DemolitionMech's artillery play, he hasn't seen a lot on the map. You know, in fact, with optics being what it is, he should see a lot more than nothing. Whereas when you look at Darricks has a fairly good idea of where things are. He always has an idea. And he's not hitting like random locations. He's hitting locations where stuff is. You'd think he was hacking. Very good scouting. 1 Chasseurs squad goes down, so that's a 200-point lead here for Darricks. He's going to move up his helicopter once again. And with helicopter scouting, you just want to kind of dip it in And once you can see something, you want to dip it back a bit. Because generally speaking, when you have a vehicle like this, there's probably going to be an anti-aircraft vehicle just behind that. And if you're fast enough, you can actually just juke out anti-aircraft vehicles, see them, and then juke back before they're able to completely wind up and attack. So we're going to see a small little push forward with the AMX 10P infantry fighter. Doesn't have any units in it. Should get killed pretty easily. It's a nice little sacrificial lamb, though, because it reveals what kind of units are coming out, specifically 3 T-62s. And it also reveals good information like where some infantry might be, where some anti-tank weaponry might be. Is he playing defensively? Is he playing aggressively? These players are going to be very focused on their micros. They're probably not even all that aware that there's 10 minutes left in the game and that there's a pretty scary lead. We said from DemolitionMech, he's got these T-62s, and note the problematic angle. And this is a small engagement thing that people can work on. If you move sideways like this, you're likely to get your vehicles one-shot. Kind of problematic. As opposed to moving across this area here, which is covered by this tree line, and so you're not likely to get sniped out. And what DemolitionMech can do to come back is win this big engagement. If he can win this big engagement, he's back in the game. He has a chance to win. But he has to win this engagement. This is going to be a big one. He's got the shallows in the woods providing a rear flank. He's got the T-62s up front. So T-62 is going to get a first fast easy kill. Shots are smiles. This is going to allow the Chieftain MK5 to move into position with the AMX Roland going to provide air cover, and all the Chieftains are going to move forward. The T-62 is in a lot of trouble. Here comes an infantry full of anti-tank weaponry. If it drops, he's in a lot of trouble. Here comes the first rocket fired by the Dragon. Will it land? Misses. Big miss. Big miss. And so there's a retreat from the T-62s. The shallows are not really hitting anything. In fact, they are not. They're in mud. The commander is getting pulled back, and this is a complete aggressive push here by Darricks. Something that's been building up the entire game. T-55 getting whack-a-mole by the Waysale MK-20s, and it could actually die here. Moto Strelky, though, might be able to change the difference here if he's able to get off some lucky rocket shots and some good grenade throws. And, ooh, he gets one Waysale, which is a 300-point difference now from Darricks. Getting very good on this attack. Legion getting cleaned up mostly by the Moto Strelkies and the Vice carries. Never mind. Actually, that shot actually made a huge difference. The artillery won that battle. Legion dominate the woods. Not much for forces left for DemolitionMech on the main front. All the while, these forces have been basically dragged out of this location, and that should be it. We're now up to a 400-point lead for Darricks, who's won this very convincingly. He did do a sneaky expand at some point in this matchup that I missed, and I'm sorry. He did get a multi-rocket launcher, 2 of them. I missed that. I'm sorry. Actually, this is the expansion right here. And, yeah, I think that's probably about it. Looks like DemolitionMech will not be in the beta. Will not join Darricks, Dirty D, enohka, General Binks, Fever 55, Lonefield, Luca, Komarami, Tiga, Bent Guru, and others in the beta. It's going to be a pretty action-loaded beta, I guess. Look forward to seeing content from there whenever that comes out. But for now, I guess this is it. This is the challenge. It is a challenge. You have to be able to beat some of the hardest players in the game. There's not a lot of keys available. I believe the beta will be about 500 people, which is, for a beta on an RTS game, relatively small, specifically because they'll probably be testing multiplayer stuff. And, you know, don't cry. Don't cry yourself to sleep, young one. Because I'm not either. There'll probably be tons of chances to get into the beta. I'm presuming that out of the 500 people that sign up, only 400 will show. And then from that 400, only 300 will stay. So there'll be more keys flying around later. Darricks, you know, he's already up to 1900 ELO after like a few days. That's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, that's the game, guys. I only have the one game for the week. Next week, I'll try and do 3, all from this this Dirty D challenge, and I'll be doing these until I run out of good ones. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry if I coughed or sneezed or if my throat is pretty raspy, hard to understand. And see you next week. Hopefully the flu will be gone. And also make sure to, once again, subscribe to the playlist if you want to see more Wargame matches. Thank you guys for watching.